The air inside the Los Angeles County Courthouse was heavy, thick with whispers and the faint smell of polished wood. Every seat in the gallery was taken, a restless crowd leaning forward as if they already knew how this story would end. At the defendant's table, 19-year-old Jalen Dawson stood with his hands in his pockets, chin lifted just enough to say he wasn't afraid. The charges were enough to bury him: grand theft auto and resisting arrest, a stolen Audi, police chase, fingerprints on the wheel. On paper, it was already over. But Jalen wasn't just here to fight for his freedom. He was about to do something no one in that room expected: turn the entire case upside down, piece by piece, until the system itself was forced to look in the mirror. Judge Walter Grayson watched him with the kind of look that didn't belong in a courtroom. Part smirk, part sneer. "You think you're some kind of legal expert?" he asked, his tone dripping with mockery. "This isn't a debate club, kid." The room laughed. Even the court staff joined in. But Jalen stayed perfectly still. He'd grown up with the law, not in it but around it. While other kids memorized basketball stats, he memorized court cases. While his friends played video games, he replayed mock trials in his head. His mother, Denise Dawson, had worked as a paralegal for over 20 years. Jalen had heard every story: how prosecutors cut corners, how judges played favorites, how some defense attorneys barely tried. By 14, he could break down a trial better than most first-year law students. But none of that mattered to Grayson. To him, Jalen was just another troublemaker who'd learn his lesson the hard way. And then, the judge made his first mistake. "I have a golf game at 2, Grayson said with a sigh. "Let's make this quick." The crowd chuckled again. But Jalen smiled, just barely. Because in that moment, he knew the judge wasn't taking the case seriously. And that arrogance? It was about to cost. Mitchell Carrington, the prosecutor, rose from his seat like a man who'd already won. He spoke with the smooth rhythm of someone delivering a speech for the 100th time. He painted the picture. A stolen 2022 Audi A6, Jalen caught red-handed, fingerprints on the wheel, an attempted escape through downtown Los Angeles. It sounded airtight. The jurors nodded. The gallery whispered. Judge Grayson leaned back, clearly thinking it was an open-and-shut case. When it was time for the defense, Lisa Thornton, Jalen's public defender, stood nervously. But Jalen placed a hand on her arm. A silent request. She hesitated, then sat back down. Jalen stepped forward. "I'll be representing myself, Your Honor." The room froze. A wave of murmurs rippled through the gallery. Carrington's smirk widened. He thought this was going to be easy. But Jalen's first move changed everything. He went straight after Carrington's key witness, Officer Daniel Ruiz. "You said he saw me behind the wheel, correct?" Jalen asked. "That's right," Carrington replied, bored. Jalen tilted his head. "Funny. Officer Ruiz wasn't even on duty when the chase began." A pause. Confusion flickered across Carrington's face. Jalen calmly requested the officer's GPS logs. If the report was truthful, it would match. If not, the silence from the prosecution was just long enough for the jury to notice. The first crack had appeared. Carrington fell back on the fingerprint evidence. But Jalen dismantled it with logic so simple it made the jurors shift in their seats. "The prosecution wants you to believe that touching something makes you guilty of stealing it," he began. "But if you try on a jacket in a store, then later someone shoplifts it, does that make you a thief?" He explained how he'd leaned against the unlocked Audi hours before the theft. A dumb teenage moment, nothing more. No driving, no theft. Then came another blow. The forensic specialist who processed the fingerprints hadn't even been subpoenaed to testify. No cross-examination. No questions about the chain of custody. No guarantee the analysis was even correct. The gallery was no longer laughing. The jury was listening. Carrington was rattled. And then, Jalen revealed what the prosecution had kept hidden. An official statement from Raymond Whitaker, the car's owner. "I left my car running at a gas station. Some kid must have jumped in and taken off. But it wasn't the guy you arrested. I saw the kid, he was white." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The arresting officer had ignored it. The prosecution had buried it. Jalen turned to the jury. The only thing connecting me to this crime is bad police work and assumptions. At that moment, the case was no longer about a stolen car. It was about bias. It was about truth. The judge leaned back, his smirk gone. He glanced at the jury, then at Jalen. Case dismissed. The room erupted. Reporters scribbled, cameras flashed. Jalen stepped outside into the chaos, but the only person he saw was his mother, waiting at the bottom of the courthouse steps. She pulled him into a hug. Across the street, Judge Grayson stood by his car, watching. His face had changed, not amused anymore, but reflective. And if you believe stories like this matter, click the subscribe button right now. Because the more we talk about them, the harder they are to ignore. How many cases end this way, not because of truth, but because of shortcuts and bias? Jalen had the knowledge to fight back. Most don't. This wasn't just about one young man winning his freedom. It was about exposing a system that too often values quick convictions over real justice. And Jalen? The next time he steps into a courtroom, it won't be as a defendant. It will be as an attorney. And when that day comes, he won't be the only one.